Max Verstappen should be studied. I don't understand how he doesn't.
An alien.
I don't think he's human.
To bring that shitbox
Yeah.
from where it was to winning the last 3 GPs and getting within 2 points of winning the championship, that's a dangerous Max Verstappen.
Did they almost throw this title away? Ferrari not recognising that maybe internally we need to change or we need to do something differently? And the drivers are talking to him pretty much like, you a fucking idiot.
Oh no! He's in defence! The fans in defence! They're all in defence! Oh, unbelievable!
Sound check.
Sound check.
Shit. Wow. Fuck.
I swear you went.
I went to it. I went.
I know, and I was like, okay, we're obviously not cheersing anymore. I thought, fuck, okay. I was rolling in. I have noticed, just for those listening, every time we do our sound check and cheers, we don't drink. We just start talking. I think it feels awkward because we're in silence for a moment while people are sitting here listening to us, obviously. So I think that's why I didn't know what to do then. I went for the drink before the cheers.
That's okay.
Is it bad luck?
No, you're right. You saved it.
This podcast might be a disaster. Could be a disaster like the last Grand Prix. It wasn't overly exciting. They just finished the World Championship. Drivers' titles decided. McLaren did get it done. They tried their very best, but they got it done, and congrats to them. It was not the most eventful race, but Lando Norris got the drivers' title in his back pocket. He is now a world champion, which, congratulations to him. Congrats to Zach, because from where he's taken that team to where it is today, you've got to give credit. And I do think he's had a massive beat up in the press. I even saw his congratulations to Lando where he was saying, is this the World Championship hotline, World Drivers' Championship hotline or something? Everyone's roasting him for being cringe, all the Aussies. But look, at some point you got to admit that guy has done an unbelievable job at turning that team around and bringing in who he has, and they've won Constructors back-to-back in a drivers' title. Yeah, no, great point. Because, Constructors, driver title, that's the cherry on top. That's the perfect season, really. I mean, they had some speed humps and things and things go wrong, but they still, on paper, had the perfect season. Or mission accomplished. That's what they would have set out to do in January, and they've done it. So, congrats, Lando. Congrats, McLaren. The only bummer is that they didn't get a 1-2 in the driver's title. Yeah. Which, obviously, the skid block stuff obviously hampered that, and there was a few things. So, they probably should have, but it's definitely frustrating the way it was played this year, because the only reason really Max was a shot is because he was a one-car team. He was able to score the maximum points he could in every race and didn't have someone taking the odd point off him from his own team. Yeah. And I do wonder, like, next year, this could be an ongoing problem for them. Like, if Max had a couple of races that weren't great, but his car ultimately wasn't fast enough, right? If next year, say it's, obviously we don't know what's happening next year, there's a massive change with all the cars, and I've actually got some notes on that. We'll get to 2026 at the end of the podcast. But if Max has a relatively competitive car, not even as good as it was at the end or as bad as it was at the start, just something that's average, right? He is a real threat because he's always going to score maximum points, and they need a car that it has a massive advantage because they're constantly stealing points off each other. So the gap this year, I feel like they were kind of lucky in a way that Max had a car that he had at the start, because if he was even slightly more competitive, they were stuffed. They were stuffed, yeah. But it doesn't take away from Lando winning. No, they still do. I think as a driver, Lando and Oscar just deserve to have the driver's title in their back pocket way earlier, like Lando or Oscar, sorry, either of them. Obviously Lando now because he won. Yep. But I feel like he should have had that driver's title 2 rounds ago. Yep. And even with the issues they had with the skid pan and everything like that, if they weren't playing the games they were with the teams, like they were playing with fire and somehow did not get burnt. Yeah, it's pretty close a couple of times, wasn't it? And it's not the drivers. Like, it is not Lando's fault that it went to the last round. No, I agree. I think, I agree on that. But I agree that I think Max is going to be dangerous next year, because you look at how much they bounced back midway through the season, and even in the press conference at the end, Max mentioned it too. Like, I think he said he felt better there, sitting there last night, than what he did when he won the championship, because he's so proud of the effort and their bounce back and what they did. And that, to me, is just, he just looked real comfortable, real happy. And I'm like, that's a dangerous Max Verstappen. Yeah, too comfortable. Because he's going to ride over the Christmas break with that, knowing what he and his team achieved to bring that shitbox from where it was to winning the last 3 GPs and getting within 2 points of winning the championship. They're going to carry that into the next
next year, 2026, and I feel like it's going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. And even when he said it's made him realise, and hopefully kind of inspire others too, that you are never out of it.
Yep.
And this year taught him that, and his engineer, that, you know, the gap they were at, that's about as big as you're ever going to see. And he still managed to close it down and almost win the title. So I think you're right. His perspective going into next year, you're not going to drop your bottom lip almost at any point after what you've learned this year, because you know it's always on. But I remember when you and I were doing the debrief after the Melbourne Grand Prix, and we were like fuming, like we were just frustrated that Oscar had the spin.
Yeah.
And we were like, at that point, if they shut it down and said no overtaking, rather than letting them race, both drivers would have finished 1-2. They pushed themselves beyond the limits of what they could do in those conditions. They both made mistakes, but it screwed Oscar a lot more. And I remember saying, like, Oscar making that spin in that moment could have just cost him the title. And you look at the final race, Lando was able to cruise around and come third. In the first race, had they cruised around and come 1-2, or even if Oscar had have just gone, okay, I'm going to come second today because the win's probably not on the cards. That's the mentality. I think they'll look back at these mistakes and look back at those races and go, okay, in those moments next time, I'm going to make different decisions. You know, if Oscar's running P2 and it's a stretch for a win at the first round, I think he might go, fuck, today's P2.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, his third season in, that learning those things now he's still great. It's still early days. It's not like he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did say that too. He said he learned a lot about himself in the car and out of the car this season, which he would have. Mm-hmm. And again, similar to my statement about Max, I've got no doubt that Oscar will come back better next year. But I do just feel, I don't know, I just feel like, I mean, Max is the greatest, you know, for speed and he just, what he's able to do when the chips are down, which he proved this year. So I just think if they give him half a rocket next year, McLaren are going to have their work cut out.
Did he say that after the race where he was like, I think he held back a little bit to not sound arrogant, but he kind of said we showed him again.
Yeah.
On the inlet. But
he wasn't delusional though, which he never is, but because he did say in the press conference, like he knows he got a few early Christmas presents, like obviously them getting DQ'd.
I actually really like that quote.
Yeah, so I think he was actually really good about it, I thought.
That's what made me think though, if McLaren don't stop stealing points from each other, they're always going to be a threat from a one-car team. We talked about supercars, kind of the polar opposite, where two cars into the finals is a disadvantage because you can't select one or whatever. And having one is such an advantage. And then in Formula One now as well, it looks like, you know, for constructors, you want two and you get two to the final. And in that final race, they were able to choose alternate strategies, which ultimately meant Max couldn't really do anything. There was no options for him. It was kind of like the race was done then. But when you're on your own going across the season and he doesn't have to worry about anyone taking points off him, he is scoring maximum every day. And they're taking each other's points away from each other. Yep. If it's a two-horse race, it doesn't matter. You go, you know, when it was like Lewis and Rosberg, it didn't matter. But when you've got this fucking Chucky coming along in the background that's taking points off you all the time,
and I don't think, and I don't think Red Bull. I think they are a team that will back a horse. Hence why a lot of people couldn't drive the Red Bull because it was more tailored to Max's style.
Yep.
So I do think they're a team too that will, without obviously saying it, but they will build a car around Max.
Yeah.
And keeping Max the fastest.
And the driver's title is what really matters.
I mean, F1 fans are pretty passionate. But if you asked an average motorsport fan in the street who won the Constructors Championship 3 years ago or 4 years ago or whenever, they probably couldn't remember, but they could tell you who won the championship.
Exactly,
things like that. So, I agree with you. I think the Drivers' Championship is more prestigious for a team.
Yep.
Well, at least I think so.
I do. I mean, I don't know financially which one means more, but that's a different factor. I think that, the driver's title is so important. They do have, the bookies have got Max Verstappen as favourite next year.
Do they? What
they
do they pay now?
This is on the score bet. You know the basketball Instagram? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
The score bet. They do the betting for like NBA and everything. They got him at plus 225. Lando Norris is P2 at plus 250. Then they've actually got George Russell third and Oscar Piastri fourth. I think there's a real question around how competitive this Mercedes is going to be. I think people are really like...
They think it's going to be good or not?
I think so, because when you look back at the hybrid era, that was 2014 when that came in and they had the Mercedes dominance. The 2026 car is going 50-50 hybrid combustion. So at the moment it's like an 80-20 split. So you got the combustion engine being 80%, 20% is the battery. So when they went to that, really Mercedes, when they first introduced hybrid, Mercedes got their head around it. And I think maybe it's that people are going, okay, well, they nailed this last time. Is this something that's going to be in their wheelhouse? And they could come out of the gate strong again. I don't know, but they have been talked about a lot when we haven't really seen anything other than just some quotes around the sim testing and what the cars have been like to drive. There's some weird shit. Like, it sounds like on the very first simulation test they did, Max said he had to downshift on the straight, like before the corner, to regen the power or something, get it back into power band.
Yeah.
So it's going to be I don't know how they're...
Just wish they'd go back to V10s or something.
Well, they have said that the reason they've done this 50-50 hybrid split is because hybrid split, is because they want to be more relevant to the car market. And that's not like here in Australia saying we want Fords and Holdens on the grid that are relevant that you can purchase over the counter. What they're saying is that manufacturers don't want to be spending hundreds of millions of dollars in combustion engines when everything's going EV. So they're saying they need to be more relevant to that market, as in we want to develop all their hybrid and everything because that's where road cars are going.
Yep.
So manufacturers are going to invest in Formula One if they're effectively doing R&D on things that they can implement in road cars and test, because the combustion engine's outdated for them. I think for the fan base, though, it's not.
Yeah.
I think for the fan base, the V10s or the V12s, V10 was
Any
the screaming
those,
V10s, that's what we miss.
Yeah, like what was it, Adelaide at the grand final there? They sounded so good.
Yeah. Was that 2011 car I think was there? They sound amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, on that, the car companies are using a lot of electric stuff now. The performance cars are using that as a performance aid to add power and things like that. So I think, yeah, it'll be interesting. But it's definitely it's more regularly used now, obviously, than what it was when they first brought the hybrid stuff in. And Mercedes were ahead of the game there because they were already so far up the road with their road car. Like, they had a lot of intel on that and how that works. So it might not be as big a gap now, but then it was huge. Like, they smoked everyone. I
think as well the reliability is going to be a big issue next year. I did have, this was our very last slide. I wanted to talk about this, but I thought might as well get into some of it now. They had, I think it was like 14% reliability issues in 2013, then 14 when they brought in the new hybrid era. It was like 54% was reliability issues. So one thing that's going to be an issue is if the battery fails now, you lose 50% of your power. Whereas when Daniel Ricciardo won Monaco, he lost the battery power, which was 20%, and he was still able to defend and drive around. You are going to be like driving a bus around the track if you lose the ability to use your battery power. So I hate it personally. I don't like any form of hybrid or electric on a racetrack, but it is the way the manufacturers are going, and we need, every motorsport category around the world now needs manufacturing support. So I get they want to be learning something from the money from what they're investing in. You know what I always say, Scotty? Electricity is good for turning the lights on. That's about it, mate. Keep it off the racetrack. It also makes the things friggin' heavy too, which means they turn into a bit of a shitbox, and cars are big, and they're 30 kilos lighter next year, which sounds like a lot, but they're still 768 kilos. So they're a bus still. Yeah, for an open wheeler, they're massive, dude. The wheelbase is shrinking. They're going 100 mil narrower, 200 mil shorter. Currently, the floor generates. Well, the overbody downforce is more predominant than the underbody. They're switching that from about 34% to 46%. The floor will generate downforce. So they're increasing that by about 10% more. So hopefully that does help cars following, because when you lose the air off the back of another car, you don't have as much downforce pushing down on the car. The no DRS, that'll be interesting. Lance Stroll, he finally did something in F1. He actually completed the last ever overtake with DRS. So that's box ticked for him. That's on the stat list. There you go. Actually, I shouldn't say that. He's had a podium and but so DRS is gone, and I don't really understand it, but I was watching a video where they were talking about it, and they're saying that 290 kilometers an hour, if you're the lead car, your car will stop generating more battery power. It'll prevent you from having more power past 290 from the electric, not from the motor. Yep. But then up until 340 k's an hour, I think it was. I don't think it was 360. I think it was 340. The car behind will keep generating power from the battery. So it's essentially like DRS, but without using the... Yep. But you can use that at any point throughout the race, anywhere on the track, I think. So the whole idea, I think, is to try and generate more racing, more overtaking, but go in favour of what the manufacturers are looking at investing in right now, and hopefully keeping their support, which... they want to introduce more manufacturers, which is why they're doing this hybrid 50-50 split, which they've done. They've got Audi, Cadillac, Ford coming in. So good things for the sport. But I do want our Aussie listeners to know they're not trying to go back to this win on Sunday, sell on Monday. It's really to be relevant so the car companies want to invest in it so they can actually learn something for their $200 million spend.
Yeah, and it's going to mean we're going to have some cool sports cars and hypercars and stuff coming from, like Mercedes did it with the Project One and all that stuff. Aston have done one. So we will get some cool stuff if you're wealthy enough to buy them. There'll be some cool stuff coming out of them. Most of us won't ever get to do anything about it, but it is, some cool stuff does come from it. So.
It will be interesting. Hunters, I just want to take a moment to thank one of our fantastic supporters, Shaw & Partners Financial Services. Shaw & Partners are a leading national investment advice and wealth management firm. They act for and on behalf of individuals, institutions, corporates, charities, and family offices. So, if you're looking for advice or assistance with investments or strategies, look no further than Shaw & Partners Financial Services. With a 35-year history and 8 offices strategically placed all over Australia, their financial advisors are within reach and ready to provide tailored solutions and advice. For more information, follow the link in the description of this podcast. Back to the show. We'll start off, so we'll do a bit of a round recap. Qualifying, mate, winners and losers. Might as well talk about some of those right now. Max Verstappen, obviously the big winner. He should be studied. He is not human. I just don't understand how Max does what he does. And he didn't win the world title, but his dominance, I think it's 3 straight wins in the end, in that car is impressive. So for me, he was just, it's funny to say, it was still a surprise. I don't know. Even after FP1, Lando was quickest, and I thought it was a fair margin, 3 or 4 tenths, I think, over Max. And I thought, oh yeah. And then bang, Max again gets pole. So he was a big standout for me as a winner. Losers? Lewis Hamilton, 16th. That's gonna be
Louis down there was no good. I did see a quote, I think it was from one of the guys saying that it is putting a bit of a dent or a scratch on his legacy, which is a little bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Motorsport fans in general do have short memories. You could win for 10 years, but you lose for 2 or 3, and I just think you should all of a sudden.
Yeah. What was the first year of Drive to Survive? Was it 2021? Well, 2020.
Probably was 21.
So it was the year he lost in Abu Dhabi. So these Drive to Survive fans don't know the 7-time.
Yeah, they probably just think
that's the sad thing. Yeah, they're like, well, he's not that. Like that, and that's where it probably taints his legacy. Yeah. It would taint his legacy with the people he doesn't care about.
Yeah.
The respect from those that have been here before Drive to Survive, it will remain.
Purists.
Yeah.
No, he's the GOAT, right?
Yeah.
What he's done.
Yeah, I remember, even for me, I have so much respect for Lewis. I used to get sent, he's Sir Martin Hines, who kind of discovered Lewis Hamilton. I drove for him in go-karting as well. And he would send me the Race of Champions, it was called, which was, it was sponsored by Zipcart, but he would send me Race of Champions, which was just a DVD, VHS, of Lewis and Fraser Sheeter and all these other guys in the UK, Luke Hines, another one, Gary Paffett. They were all racing in this Race of Champions. So I got to watch Lewis from cadets all the way through from when he was 8 years old. I was very young. So I must have got those 1998, I think was the first time I got one of those videos. And he was unbelievable. And it was so cool for me when I moved to the UK racing. I'd go to those kart tracks just to see them, because I remember going to Wilton Mill the first time, and it was a hire kart. I hired a hire kart just to drive it because I remembered watching Lewis back when I was 8 years old on my couch at home, dreaming of going to the UK and racing. And so I have a lot of respect for Lewis. He's someone that I've looked up to forever. I got to do a fitness assessment at McLaren. I used to train there quite a bit, and he came in, sat with me while I did my VO2 max test, and I will say he was super down to earth, actually really chatty. Sat with me for the full VO2 max test. He told me he did it once, he would never do it again. It was the worst thing he's ever done.
Yeah, right.
Which I can confirm. It was disgusting. I almost vomited at the end. It is terrible. VO2 max test, anyone wondering, they take your blood during to measure your lactic acid as well. And you're on a bike, and they just keep upping the intensity of the bike, and they just take your measurements during it to see how far you can go until you die, pretty much. But yeah, I got lots of good things to say about him. But unfortunately, right now, I said to my partner yesterday, what does he do? Yeah. Right now, what does Lewis do? Because if he retires, it's it's just finished on this downward trajectory, which is almost unmatched. But then if he keeps going and it doesn't change, that just keeps getting worse. So it's kind of like he's pushed his chips all in now, and I don't really know. Like he has to just wait and see how it unfolds. Like go through next season, I guess, and
Just has to hope Ferrari turn up with a decent wagon.
and I actually don't see it happening.
No, which is a shame because you say about his trajectory, but also like Ferrari as a team. Like they haven't really, it's been a long time, hasn't it?
Well, last year they
Since they've
finished
been
second in the
dominant.
constructors. This year they finished fourth. Big drop off.
When's the last time, I'm putting you on the spot here because I don't know, but when's the last time they won a championship, drivers' championship?
2007, I think it was. With
a while,
Kimi Raikkonen. Was it 2007? It was the year that Lewis and Alonso had their duel and Kimi got it up on him, I believe. I think it was 2007.
Okay.
Lewis's first year rookie season. Then Lewis won 08.
What's that, 18
Lost
years?
it by like a point or two.
So 18 years or something.
Yeah.
It's a long time for a team that gets dubbed, still
Yeah.
has a lot of fans. It's
18, that's actually scary, isn't it? Something like that. It would be. Because, Alonso went there, didn't come to fruition. Vettel went there, it didn't work. And now they got Lewis, Charles. Like, they have had some great drivers. That's what's disappointing when you hear them say the drivers need to stop talking. I think that's one of their downfalls is Ferrari not recognising that maybe internally we need to change or we need to do something differently. Like maybe just hiring Italians isn't the best. Like maybe there are some people from outside Italy that know how to engineer a car.
it does appear like they're too proud, and that's going to hamper their progression in the sport. For things like you're saying, only hiring Italians or whatever it be, or their philosophies.
Because telling the drivers not to speak when the Ferrari man came out saying the engineers are doing their job, mechanics are doing their jobs, and the drivers need to stop talking. Like, mate, really? I think it's the CEO of Ferrari that said that, wasn't it? Did you see that?
I didn't say it.
Did an interview in the pen, in the media centre, and it's just like, mate, seriously? Like, I think it's ridiculous that, and if the drivers say anything negative, history shows that they will get sacked.
Yeah.
So if you can't acknowledge the elephant in the room, you're never going to fix it. And I think that's their problem. Like, and their strategy and everything. Like I laughed actually after the final race in Abu Dhabi because all race Lewis would, say something and they would. Did you see when he said the car in front of me ran off? He said he got on the radio anyway and said the car in front of me just ran off the track like exceeded track limits. And all his engineer said was, "Okay, copy." And he's like, "Don't just copy it. Like, don't just acknowledge the message. Like, do something." And he said something back. Okay, copy again. Anyway, at the end of the race, Lewis thanked them for the season and everything, appreciate it. And it was radio silence. And Lewis is like, of all times, now you're silent? Like, now you can talk? And they said, "Oh, sorry, Lewis, we were talking. Like, we were having a conversation." Dead set. Like, it's actually, it's beyond a joke. Like it just seems. And I feel like Lewis's engineer has got to change. The communication between those two is appalling, and it's not much better between Leclerc and his. It's bad.
You get frustrated listening to it, don't you? Yeah.
I feel bad for him. Like your adrenaline's pumping, and then you got the language barrier, but then also like the personalities are clashing.
Yeah.
And the driver's talking to him pretty much like, "Are you a fucking idiot? Like, seriously, you tell me that
Sounds
now?"
like they got no faith in them.
Yeah.
Which is always the worst.
Yeah.
If you just don't have faith on the person on the other end of the radio,
It's gone.
you're fucked.
Yeah.
Really, like.
And Lewis said before the race he's going to go away after this weekend and pretty much change everyone that's around him. Like he's going to make some big changes. He also said after the race he's going to throw his phone in the bin and you won't be able to contact him for a while. Like he needs time to decompress. It's sad, man. I think it's
hard, and I mean, very hard to comprehend, but whether they're coming first or 20th, they put so much work in. It's a lot of time on the road.
Yep.
Like, yeah, okay, they get paid big bucks. They've got the best job in the world. I get it. But it's still, at the end of the day, still hard work. And they put so much into it. And all they think about, whether it be any driver, Formula 1 driver or someone racing here in Australia, wherever, most time all you think about most of the day is how to be faster or better or go on racing again or whatever. So you spend so much time every second of the day consuming it and thinking about it. When it doesn't go right, it's just soul destroying.
Well, also, I was thinking too, and this would have happened with Daniel, where the conversation around you changes. Goes from being like all this hype around how good you are, you'd feel like a dog with two dicks walking down the street. Like you'd be so confident. And then all of a sudden you start to notice people looking at you, talking about you, and you start to think, oh, they like, it would kill your confidence, and that's the thing too. Like people would start to be speculating about is he past it? Is he done? Has he got the 1 lap speed anymore? And that's what's, I imagine that would actually start to be, it's like a complex. You start to see people in the restaurants looking over at you, and instead of being like, yeah, they're talking about how good I am and you're feeling confident about yourself, you'd start to be a recluse and go, fuck, I don't want to go outside. Like it would have happened with Drive to Survive with Daniel. It went from being, everyone loved his smile, he's one of the best, he's flamboyant, he's fast, he was racing Max, and it just got worse and worse. And every time Daniel would have gone outside, it'd be difficult. Going from being the star to people shit canning you, because that's socials, man. Like it's, but it's on another level because Formula One is, they've got millions and millions of followers, known globally. Even other athletes, what they think of you, new athletes to the sport, like that would bother Lewis that you're getting these ambassadors come into Formula One now and they wouldn't respect Lewis as a 7-time, and they might be current NBA champions or something like that. And like I remember when he was at his peaks, Dwayne Wade was going to Monaco and they were like 4-time baby, because he'd won 4-time with 4 NBA championships. Lewis has just become 4-time, and now it's like the athletes are coming and they're talking about Lando and then you look over and you still got Alonso who's outperforming a shitbox. They're still talking about him. He's only won 2. You got a 7-time who everyone's like, he should probably retire. Yeah, it's fun. He's younger than Alonso.
Yeah.
It's fucking brutal. Anyway, we do have onto Alonso, 6th, he qualified.
Yes.
It's 29-1 over Stroll, and I put in there, he's also 44 years old, if I haven't mentioned that.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
I think
29-1.
They need a driver change at Aston fast. Not Alonso, by the way.
Yeah, it would be tough if your teammate had 29 over you in a season. That would be, you'd be like, that would be really hard to swallow.
Well, we saw it in supercars. It's tough. Like,
yeah,
Will went through it this year with Brock.
Yeah,
and a driver that's on form like that. Yeah, I actually only just think about this now. It'd be interesting if they did just keep Stroll for another year, because I think it'd be interesting knowing Oscar's contract's up.
It's funny you say that.
If the Aston's good next year, it's perfect for him to just go. We talked about Max seeing where the crumbles fall.
Yeah.
It might be interesting if Oscar did the same, and say an Aston did become available in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
They pick up an Oscar.
I'm sure there would be method to their madness. But yeah, I agree. I think, any of the top drivers, the number 1 drivers, will be waiting to see what rolls out next year, staying where they are. And that's what they all said about Max, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Russell actually surprised me in the race. So in the race, he finished over 48 seconds off the lead of the race.
Yep.
I thought he was going to play havoc in this championship, because we can get into the race and talk about that, because I had my hopes on Georgie boy. I thought, fuck yeah.
Throw a couple of punches, you thought?
Yeah, he got a shit start.
Yeah.
Dropped back to 6th, got back to 5th, and to be honest, I think Charles Leclerc showed him up. Like, Charles had to go to a 2-stop because I think he was driving beyond what the car could do.
Yeah.
But Georgie boy was nowhere. And I was like, fuck, the one time you just needed someone to get in the mix, because ultimately Oscar was always going to move over and let Lando through if he had to for the points.
Yeah.
So we actually needed Lando to finish 5th, but I was hoping something would happen, but Georgie boy was nowhere.
Yeah, I agree. And it sort of proved it when Lando had to come back through. It made it look pretty easy, didn't he?
Even though, like, he had the fresh tyres, but even compared to, like, Charles, he blazed through, didn't he? Straight through.
Yeah, but the only one that put up a fight was Yuki, really.
All right, Barbs, it is time for one of our favourite segments of the show. We're actually very fortunate. We have got a brand new partner on the show, 4-Wheel Drive Outdoor Supercentre. Much like us, they started out with the intention of disrupting the market, and they have absolutely done that. Their mission was to bring down the cost of overpriced outdoor gear and make quality equipment affordable for everyday Australians.
They're also an Australian-owned business which has managed to cut out the middleman, Scotty. They run their own supply chain to keep the costs down, which ultimately means more savings for the customers.
That's right, Barbs. And a little fun fact, they actually do all of their R&D right here in Queensland, Australia, making sure that the quality meets Australian standards.
It gets better, Scotty. 4-Wheel Drive Supercentre have introduced wholesale pricing for every customer. All you have to do is purchase 4 items and you'll get wholesale prices.
Well, there you go. If you're interested, check out their website. I will put the link to that website in the description of this podcast so you can take a look and get yourself something special. But for now, it's time to rip into the segment. Who remembered, who forgot? You can kick it off, mate. Who forgot? Let's start with that one.
Who forgot? I've got Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, he fucking stole mine. I mean, to be honest, it's probably a pretty popular one. Yeah, I got her. I'm going with that as well. Tell me why, though, you think Lewis.
Well, I think
You can go first.
Charles Leclerc did a great job and Lewis was just so far behind him. So I think Charles showed us what the Ferrari could do when it had the wheels driven off it. Louis, not so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've got Lewis down as my who forgot because it's almost not who forgot this year for him because I do wonder, and we can. It's one of the talking points I want to get into, but whether or not Lewis has actually lost his one lap speed because he did finish 8th in this Grand Prix, but he keeps qualifying. I think it's 4 times now. He's been knocked out in Q1. One of them was a sprint race, 4 times in a row, that is, one of which is a sprint race. So the who forgot, for me, it seems brutal, but this whole season, like he had the one sprint race win in China, but he hasn't had any form, and the hype around him going to Ferrari has made it a bigger fail than I think anyone else could have. The hype was that big. He either was a success or a failure, and I mean the last race kind of put the nail in the coffin for this season, didn't it? Because like you said, Leclerc just drove out of the seat in that last race, and Lewis was nowhere. Who remembered?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I've got Esteban Ocon finishing a P7 in the Haas for the last round of the year. I thought that was a pretty solid job. In the points.
All right, well, let's spin it then.
Fair way up the road on
Who remembered for the season, not just... Because I feel like my who forgot really Lewis. I was talking the whole season, I reckon.
Yep.
I'll jump in and do mine while you think about for the whole season.
Yeah, you go, mate.
My remembered is actually Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, it's a good one.
He started out with a crash on the formation lap or whatever it was, or the safety car lap at Melbourne Grand Prix, and then had bad luck throughout the season. But at the very beginning, I was like, fuck, Albon's going to be hard for him to beat. And then he closed the gap throughout the year, and more often than not, in the end, was ahead, got a few podiums for the season, and probably exceeded expectations, I think, at Williams.
Yeah, fair point. I'm actually going to go Fernando Alonso because the old wily dog in the 10 in the championship for the year, smoked Stroll all year. I mean, Stroll was 16th, so he's a fair way up on his younger teammate there. So I think the old boy's still got it. I'm looking forward to seeing next year if they've got a good car with some of the new changes and the personnel they got going there and Newey and things like that. I'm interested to see. I reckon he can still go right in the right car.
Yeah, well, he's got the right teammate as well to really uplift the team as well.
Well, it'd be good for his confidence. That's why he's driving out of his skin at 44 probably.
I remember. I mean, that is a good remembered. Alonso to 44 years old.
Still in the top 10 in the world Drivers' Championship. That's pretty big.
Yeah, and
the only other guy to do that's Brad Pitt in the F1 movie.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and Alonso did take a hiatus for a little while. Maybe not like 30 years like Brad Pitt did, but he did take 12 months off. But it is crazy. Like the fact that he took a year off, just went and did Indy 500 and played around Le Mans, and then come back to F1, and now he's just back at the front. I qualified 4th recently. This one he's ran 6th. I think he was running 5th at one point, and Russell passed him in the last race. But it is nuts to think at 44 years old, he is like he's 44. Like it's actually wild to think there's an 18-year-old. No, is Kimi 19 now?
Kimi's 8. I think he's still 18.
18.
Yeah.
He's racing children.
Yeah.
And he's 44 years old.
Oh, I love it too because he's changing the narrative because people go, it's a young man's game or it's a young driver's game. He's just like, no, it's not.
Yeah. And if you give him a car fast enough, I still think he can win.
Yeah, and that's why I'm excited to see what does happen next year. There's a few question marks around it, but if it is a bit of a rocket ship, like we saw, what was it, last year, the year before, he was on the podium regularly at the start of the season. At the start
year before last.
Yeah, when the start of this model car.
Yep.
So he can still do it.
Yeah. Did you see Sergio Perez's tweet?
I did not see his tweet, no.
All right, so we can get into Yuki's defence. It was a little underwhelming, I'll be honest.
His defence?
His defence.
Yeah.
And I did see Sergio Perez, he popped up a tweet saying, like, as in, perhaps I treated you too harshly, a meme with him. And then he replied saying perhaps, like he'd reshared it and said perhaps, and it was from a page called F1 Troll.
With a laughing face.
With a laughing
face.
And it was around, obviously, everyone being a little too harsh on Perez when maybe he wasn't performing so bad, and that car is just a bit of a shitbox to drive if you're the number 2. Yep. But I don't think Yuki could do much. They've made adjustments to the circuit, which is why Max said ultimately he couldn't back everyone up because the way the circuit layout is now, it's quite easy to pass with DRS.
Yeah.
And I think that was Yuki's biggest problem. I think he was like a shot duck, dude. There was no way. You saw how fast Lando was.
Props for having a go, though.
I don't think he could have done anything, though. No. You know how like they're taking the piss out of him for pretty much just letting him pass? Like he tried, but they're like his defense versus Perez's defense against Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like he made Hamilton lose, was it 5 seconds in one lap, I think?
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit unfair to say Yuki, I don't think the circumstances were the same.
Not apples with apples.
Yeah. What about the penalty then? Do you think Yuki should have got the 5-second penalty he got?
Well, going off their rule book, yeah, I think it's pretty black and white. You can only move once, right? And he moved twice or 2.5 times, I guess you'd call it almost, to block him.
What about Lando then?
No, I don't think Lando needed a penalty. I don't think it was much like it's like he's got the steam coming up. Someone moves you, you got to keep going, right?
Yeah.
So I don't. And if he did, it'd be bullshit. Like that's not. I think letting people race, letting Yuki try and defend that hard is fine. Obviously, he got a penalty because he broke the rule and forced Lando off the circuit, essentially. Yep. But I think it would be bullshit if they then penalised. You want that. It's a bit of drama.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree on both fronts. I think the only thing from it is Martin Brundle, and they just cannot hide it, can they? Like the way they were talking about Red Bull, trying to set up, just give him some information to try and make it difficult for Lando. Yeah. They were making that out like they had just committed a crime.
Yeah.
Like, this is disgusting, pretty much. Like, I can't believe they're doing this. This goes against the integrity of the sport. I'm like, fuck, they should take a look at the supercars. Like, what they do is fine.
Yeah.
Like, I think what Walkinshaw did with Woody, for instance, where they were giving him, like, we're going to drop out in and around him. That's what you do as a team. Like you try, even with and I know that, that we're saying that, is that like the Debris thing? Should they be penalised or not? You have to expect it. In a championship fight, it's a dog fight. You're out there, you're trying to beat the other guys. You use everything you possibly can. And in that situation, Yuki is your best armour.
Yep.
And I think just giving him a bit of information on where his teammate's nearest rival is, it's okay. It's not going against the integrity of the sport. Like Woody here in Australia moving over, saying I'm out of fuel. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Team orders, they're going to, for instance, they're going to switch a car, right? If Lando needed the points, they're going to switch Oscar and Lando.
I bet you they wouldn't cry about that.
They're not going to cry about that. But then what's the difference with someone just trying to make it difficult for someone to pass? Like, fuck. And I was watching it like, this one's a bit sick. You're like, guys, come on. It's so obvious. And they were kind of infuriated by it. They weren't like, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, they are very biased. And I saw something the other day and they were saying, well, it's because most of their broadcasts or most of their fans are English or blah, blah, blah. I get that. But, we still have to listen to their commentary in Australia.
There's alternate commentary, but I just thought in that, I'm like, it's really not that hard on that one.
No, I didn't think.
This is what teams are going to do. They're going to do this type of shit, try and fuck with the other teams. There's nothing wrong with it.
There's so much at stake, so much money on the line. It should be expected. I don't know why. Yeah, I agree with you. They probably over the top.
Yeah, and they praised it back with the Perez battle, even though that was against Lewis. I don't understand why that's so different. Like I think in this one, it was like they wanted Lando so badly to win, maybe because it's his first time. I don't know.
Yeah, McLaren, Lando's first. Yeah, I don't know.
I did laugh on the grid when Martin Brundle did his grid walk. Someone said to him, who do you want to win? And he's like, I don't care who wins. I don't care at all. Anyone, like they're all good or worthy. I was like, you saw him almost like take a gulp, like, oh shit. Like it was almost like I don't think anyone's actually said to him.
Asked him a question.
It was like, fuck. And he's like, no, I don't care. I don't care.
I'll do the interviewing here. You shut up.
Yeah. And in that instance, the thing is he would get slammed, but it's like he could go, well, I'm British. But obviously I can't pick sides. Like I'm here to commentate on the sport. I think just saying no one and I don't care, I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Definitely call bullshit.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I thought, I thought Yuki probably deserved the penalty. I thought good on him for having a crack.
Yeah.
Trying to do his job as a rear gunner.
Yep.
I mean, what do you do? As you say, he was a shot duck anyway. He could do fuck all about it. So he had to go and tried to make as hard as he could, but it was what it was. Should we go through the race results?
Well,
or do you want to?
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
So for that, I'm sure everyone that's listening probably watched the race, but if you didn't, Max Verstappen won.
Just make it fast, though, because I fell asleep during the race again. We don't want to put everyone to sleep.
It was a snoozer.
Bit of a snoozer.
Maxi V P1, Oscar was second, Lando third, Charles fourth, Georgie Russell fifth, Fernando 6th, great job. Esteban Ocon, he was my who remembered. 7th, Lewis Hamilton 8th, good fight back from 16th on the grid. Nico Hulkenberg in the points in 9th, and then Lance Stroll finishing off a solid year 10th.
Mega. What do you think of Max not backing the field up or nothing happened? I stayed up thinking, Max is leading. Shit could go. Anything could happen. And nothing happened.
I thought that, and then I didn't really know why. Then his explanation in the press conference afterwards was, as you just touched on, mate, the different layout in the circuit. He didn't feel like that, plus with the different strategies, some one stopping, some two stop. He just didn't think that it was going to yield any fruit. Yep. So he just thought, well, I've just got to go for the win and just hope that maybe the stars align and something happens to Lando's car. And he did say, every lap he'd look up at the big screen and see if anything was going on. So I think it would have been nice, entertaining to see if he could play some games, but he obviously had worked out all the scenarios and just thought, well, it's not going to yield any fruit. I might as well just go try and win the race. So he did that. Yeah,
I agree. I was just disappointed. But the one thing I would say is this format, it's one across all the races. And I think it's been an amazing season. There's been really exciting races. This one wasn't overly exciting, but each of those guys Lando earned the right for it not to be exciting in the end. He earned the right to turn up to the last round with some points in the bank and have a buffer and be able to drive the way he did and run the race the way he did. I'm not, when someone says they complain about this last race being boring, it wasn't the most exciting and it was boring. But I'm like, we awarded the best driver and team across the season. I think it's great. That's the gripe with supercars at the moment. I find it hard because I love Formula One and I haven't really missed a race since probably 2001 or 2. And I like it. I'm not going to complain about the boring odd race we get because, and obviously there's cars usually in Formula One. It's the guy with the fastest car wins the race. That's a bit different. We're lucky here in supercars where there is a bit more of an even playing field. But I like that the way it was, it rewarded consistency across the year. Like Lando didn't have to win the last race to win it. He finished third. But I thought it was a pretty cool championship. I think it was good to see all three guys go through it. We got to see Max, probably the best driver, but not in the best car. But that is Formula One. That's the one negative to it. But I think next year's looking like a cracker because I think Max is. He admitted himself he's driving better than he ever has. Yeah. But that race for me, the only frustrating thing was the way the track layout was. Probably took away any options for him. I just wish the last round was somewhere else. Yeah. But then, I don't know where. Like and maybe a track with runoff would be good. Yeah. Just like with actual gravel and grass.
Yeah, rather than bitumen. And that's the problem with, we get it at supercars, we get in a lot of forms of motorsport where they're elite. And it can create boring racing because everyone's so freaking good. Yeah. Mistakes don't get made. And it literally just comes down to who's got the fastest team or car. And you just follow each other around. And that's so, for us watching, it can be a snoozer, but then also you can tip your hat and appreciate, well, it's because everyone's at such a high level that's created that boringness. Where you think 15, 20 years ago, maybe when there was privateers or less professional people. Well, and also in Formula, back in the day in Formula 1, you had probably guys buying their way in that were crashing a bit more and things like that. That created, but now everyone's so good. That's why we're not seeing as many safety cars in supercars now. We're not seeing as many safety cars in Formula One. The cars are better, the technology's better, but the drivers are also equally, with simulators and things, they're so...
Like we've got, everyone hangs shit on Lance Stroll, even we do as a joke, really, but he is a junior Formula champion in, F3. He's still very good. We don't have... drivers coming in that, Minardi, for instance, had some drivers some years where you're like, how did they actually get their license to race in Formula One? The worst driver out there at the moment is someone that's won junior Formula Championship. You look at the actual championship for the driver's title. I thought this was actually fascinating. Gabriel Bortoleto. Yeah. He's the last driver, other than Franco Colapinto, but he didn't do the full season. Yeah. He's the last driver on points. Gabriel Bortoleto, he's amazing. Yeah. That's he's not the worst driver in the field. This is going to sound worse than it is, but in terms of points, he's the worst driver in the field, and he's amazing. Yeah. So when you talk about, what you're saying, that's the point you're saying is like everyone's good. Like these are the best. They are really fucking good drivers, and there's no grid fillers causing safety cars out there at the moment.
Yeah, they're not going to make mistakes. They're professionals, which is, as I say, sometimes promotes boring racing, and So I sometimes reckon they need to like get a sprinkler out there or something halfway through the race and just surprise them a bit.
Just someone out there with a hose.
Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying this episode, but I do have to interrupt just quickly to thank our fantastic supporters that allow us to create the content for you. East Coast Car Rentals. If you're in the market for a rental car, think of those guys. And if you'd like a cheeky 15% discount, AHU15 is the discount code there for 15% off. If you're in the market to buy a car, not rent one, Lancaster Motor Group, we've got you covered for new or used cars. So think Lancaster Motor Group. Quadlock, fantastic supporter of our podcast as well. We use their products every single day on the pod using their desk mounts here. Also, we've used them to create the additional content like we did the Adelaide Motorsport Festival using their action camera mounts. So whether it's mounts, phone cases, they've got you covered. Quadlockcase.net. Now, the website for all of these brands that support us will be in the description of this podcast. Back to the show. I thought that Lando getting passed by Oscar, again, I'm probably hypersensitive to it being an Aussie, but the commentators were like, oh, he kind of let him go. I actually don't think he did. I think on the hard tyre,
was a big
Oscar
move.
did a mega move and he kind of had a point to prove. He went out there in that last race being like, I actually thought it was a good move. And I think, TV tried to talk it down. Obviously, Lando didn't need to get in a fight with him, but I thought, he raced. He was fast, man. I thought Oscar did a mega job.
And it gave everyone a bit of hope because it was early in the race. Was it lap 1 or 2? Lap 1.
Lap 1, I think.
Yeah, lap 1. And so it gave everyone at home watching in Australia anyway that hope that he's having a crack, and if something happens to Max and something happens to, like, he's still in it. You know, even though chances are we knew what was going to happen. But, hats off that he did pull that off and raced hard, because nothing worse than seeing someone that you're backing waving the white flag.
Yeah.
When there's still laps to be done. Like Max said, you never give up. Proof of that.
Yep.
So that was good. Good move. Rated seeing it. Thank you.
Yeah. I still don't buy into the fact that McLaren's provided him 2 different cars at any point in the season. No. My point is I hope that Oscar gets his head around those tracks that seem to have caused issues for him late in the season, because I think going into next year, that race at Abu Dhabi, the way he drove, I thought was very impressive. Obviously, he's going for the driver's title in his 3rd season. But I think it puts us in good shape for next year as Aussies to have someone to jump on a bandwagon with and go for if you didn't see this season or last with him. But out of this race, I'm still Lewis Hamilton, finished 8th. He's out in Q1 again, but he keeps getting through the points. And it does, he had these drives at Mercedes. Like, this isn't, it's worse than it's ever been, but it's not that dissimilar to last year with Mercedes, where he'd qualify like shit, race through to the points. Do you think Lewis has lost his 1-lap speed, or do you think he's just struggling with these cars?
No, I don't think he's lost his 1-lap speed. I just think it's not gelling.
What do you think causes that? Like,
Well, I've got no idea. I'm sure he probably doesn't either. But
it's just
look, I don't know. Because it's not like it's ever been a problem in the past. He's qualifying.
Well, he's over 100 pole positions. He's like the qualifying god, isn't he?
So, I like to think that he hasn't. Maybe he has, but I don't think so. I think something's just not gelling with the style of car lately. That's my gut feel.
Yep.
Because age, I don't buy into the age thing. Like, and again, Alonso's a perfect example of that. I don't buy into that.
Yeah, and especially how quickly it shifted for him. Like, there was something about...
Yeah, if he was...
It was when these cars came in, though. Remember when, like, the Mercedes looked like it had just been dropped from a high and it was just splattered on the track? That fucking car they rolled out with had been a shitbox. And it's like Lewis has never got his head around those cars, which is what we're in at the moment, the big old heavy shitboxes.
Yeah.
And then, like, going to next year, I read a lot today about 26, and it does not inspire me at the moment. I'm going to be... trying to be open-minded and see what comes of next year, but it is odd. The way they're having to drive them apparently in the sim is very strange. So it's going to be a different driver that has success. I don't mean there's someone else that's no good at the moment, but it could well be something that's moved beyond Lewis even further, or it brings it back into his wheelhouse. I don't know. I hope it goes in the latter, but...
See, I think a car, which I don't think the next cars sound like they are, but I think a car where it's more just you go out and you drive on your ability and feel would suit someone like a Lewis more so.
That's what worries me, exactly.
Yeah, than something that's got a processor or it's more technically minded.
Well, they're talking about revving the engine in the hairpins to keep in the right power band and shit. I'm like...
Yeah, it just doesn't sound like...
Sounds like a video game with weird tricks that you can work out.
Yeah, it's like you got to do cheat codes and stuff. Like, I just think...
That worries me.
That worries me a little bit if that's what they reckon you got to do, because I think he's I could be wrong, but I would say he's more of an old school drive to the grip, feel what's going on underneath you and drive it to that more so than...
Which could be wise. Well, the car's so big and heavy now, he's just not able to...
They lose the feel a little bit.
Muscle it. But then in the
Steerings
race...
are getting so light, they've all got the light steering now. They're all big, heavy shit boxes.
And then where he does come into his own is opening laps in his racecraft because he comes through quickly.
Yeah, positioning the car.
Hulkenberg, again, an absolute standout. He is one of those guys, didn't perform that well once he was in a top team, but he is another overachiever in one of the smaller teams. Finished up P9, scored points again, 2 points. Lance Stroll was 10th, and then, Gabriel Bortoleto. It's a shame, when you look at the points in Formula One, Bortoleto's last on 19 points, but when you do finish, say, between 8 and 12, your chances of scoring points is pretty slim.
Yep.
And that's where I think he's fallen into. But Nico Hulkenberg, for me, is constantly a standout. Scored 51 points this season to Bortoleto's 19. And obviously Bortoleto's a rookie, but Nico Hulkenberg is, for me, I think he's severely underrated. I don't know that he's underrated from his peers.
No, I don't think he is.
But publicly, one of those guys doesn't get talked about enough.
No, I agree with that. Should we talk about the driving standards?
Driving standards.
Not driving standards, the Drivers' Championship.
We shall. We should also say, actually, the last episode, and we did say we didn't know if it had been announced, like if it was going to be announced soon, but we put the podcast out. But the day before they announced Liam Lawson, Isaac Hadjar going to Red Bull, Arvid Lindblad coming in. So we will say we filmed the night before literally the announcement, published it, but Liam Lawson has been renewed, which is very exciting. Isaac Hadjar gets the terrifying career-ending move to the main car.
Nice knowing you, bud.
I'm just kidding. I really hope we've finally got someone that can handle that thing. Yeah. Like if he can just even be close to Max, it would be amazing. So hopefully it works out for him. But there's a lot of pressure going in that seat, given its history. And also Arvid Lindblad's in, which is good. Got a win in F2 on the weekend.
Yes.
So excited to see that. All right, mate, Drivers' Championship.
We'll roll you through the top 5, and then we'll talk about who we thought was good, who didn't. Obviously, Lando Norris won the championship. Well done, Lando. Max Verstappen was 2nd. Oscar Piastri 3rd. George Russell was 4th. Charles and Lewis 5th and 6th. Kimi Antonelli was 7th. Alex Albon 8th. Carlos Sainz 9th. Then Fernando Alonso 10th. Any surprises, mate? Any disappointments? What's your feel on the standings?
Surprise is 2 points between Max and Lando. It's just you have to start there. But what I do want to say is a lot of people are like, oh, the George Russell incident, between him and Max cost him the championship. That is a dangerous game to start playing.
Yeah.
Because if you start taking out incidents throughout the season, everyone can play that game. At the end of the year, it is what it is. It's across so many races. That's your championship because, you take out obviously the flaws. Yeah. You take out a mistake that Oscar made at Melbourne Grand Prix, or when Lando ran up the back of Oscar at Canada. Canada. He ran up the back with him in the toe. Yeah, then you take out Oscar's Baku crash.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that every driver would love to change, but it's not like only one driver gets to make changes. If you all make changes, then the season is a totally different story. And I think you probably still end up with a very similar result. If everyone had the opportunity to take out their bad days or bad qualifying laps or when they made mistakes that even people didn't see. Yeah. So I just think over the whole season to get to within 2 points is amazing.
Did you hear Max, Journo that asked Max that question in the press conference, and Max sort of just give it back to him and was just like, mate, and Max said, he goes, I got some shit went my way, some shit went like...
Yeah, and then he goes, and then you sit there with that stupid smile on your face. Yeah. I loved that.
I thought Max was brilliant in the press conference.
This has been his best year, I think, for... Yeah. It's like he's come into his own, right? He's proved everything he needs to. He has the respect of everyone, doesn't need to say anything. He supports the young drivers. Like, did you see Kimi Antonelli come up and apologise? And he's like, dude, it's okay. Like, but even that, even if Kimi hadn't have made the mistake and Lando scored the points, Oscar would have just moved over.
Yeah.
So that didn't change it either. But I love that Max, it's like he's so confident in himself now. It's like he could not win another title. I think he'll walk away from the sport no different to what he is today. That's what he said. Like, winning another one's not going to change my life. Winning the first one did, and I'm never going to be able to reach that high of, the emotions. But yeah, his press conferences this year have been another level. The way he talks, fucking hilarious. He has no tolerance for bullshit.
No.
But it is the British media. They're always trying to...
They're trying to tip him over the edge. They're trying to get a headline or...
I don't think Australian media's been great, though.
Nah.
Like, even I looked today,
A lot of people, a lot of bandwagon jumpers.
Do you know what I've noticed? So the headlines are always, because it's like trending that this conspiracy theory about McLaren fucking Oscar, and the people that don't know what they're talking about are buying into it. And I'm like, the headlines now, because they're getting the comments and the engagement, they just keep going with it. And even today I saw them like talking about how Zach cut off the race engineer to make a tone deaf comment to Oscar. And you're like, that was not tone deaf. Like, he was celebrating that he's just won the world driver's title and constructor's title with another driver that really contributed to that success, whether it's like in the garage when they're, or in the workshop when they're on the headsets talking about car setup and refining the balance from the sim work. It's an equally satisfying moment for him across both cars to go like, you helped us do this too. Like, thank you for everything you've done this year. It's not tone deaf, but then the media, even here in Australia, created headlines saying tone deaf comment from Zach Brown. I'm like, and they know it's going to get engagement. Yeah. But I do think that we've actually this year not done ourselves proud with some of the headlines and the comments that have been coming out about the conspiracy theories. And
well, and it is the problem that the new fan base that's in Formula One has created, because you get a lot of people that know fuck all about racing and motorsport, thinking they've got a platform to go and talk about, like they know everything because they watched a couple of episodes on Netflix and shit and watched a couple of races. So that's the problem. Like, I get they're fans of the sport, which is great, but they don't actually have any racing understanding or background, or have probably never been in a garage or worked in the industry. So, and it's to be giving really strong opinions without having like that education of the sport or deeply understanding it is always dangerous. It's like me going and talking about, I'd never go talk about politics because I know fuck all about it.
Yeah. But it's like when a podcaster goes and talks about, and I mean a podcaster, not like an ex-driver or whatever, like I wouldn't talk about certain things in a pod because I'm not educated in them. But when you listen to some of the podcasts and they describe like an overtake when it goes wrong and what they did wrong, it was an F1 pod. And I just commented going, it's actually so obvious that you've never been down the inside of someone. Modulating brake pressure, trying to predict where a car is going to end up, all of those things, closing speeds, gaps, and then also like how rough the apex curve is going to be, how far you're going to move off of it. You can tell you've never actually experienced any of those things whilst you're talking about how shit someone was when they made a mistake. So it's like you just do have to be very careful about what you talk about and what you don't. It's like you stay in your lane a little bit. It's great to like talk about the sport, but I did think some of our like headlines and stuff have gotten a bit lowbrow. It's fun to discuss it and also speculate, or, the conspiracies are fun. They're like, but you've got to take them with a grain of salt. And also I think McLaren, where it's fun to have conversation is like, did they almost throw this title away? That's one you can actually discuss, because it's like, well, stealing points off each other and the management of should you have a number one or number two, they're actually, I think they're healthy conversations, and they're probably ones that Zach Brown doesn't mind having. But when someone comes out and says like Zach Brown's sabotaging or detuning Oscar's car, I don't think they're actually at all constructive, and they don't do our press any favours. They make us look like pricks, I think.
No, I agree with you.
Where were we?
After that, we went off then, didn't we? Other surprises in the World Drivers' Championship, mate?
Surprised actually that Charles and Lewis were actually 5th and 6th together. I thought that there might have been someone in between them. I don't know. I thought maybe Kimi Antonelli might have split them, just the way Hamilton's year has gone. I thought surely someone would, but Antonelli was 6 points off of Lewis. For me, or actually, who do you call your rookie of the year? Who would you put up there as
rookie of the year? Good question, mate.
Obviously not based on points necessarily, because the cars are so different.
Yeah,
who's been your standout this year?
I would say Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same.
Isaac Hadjar has impressed me probably the most consistently. Also seen some good glimpses from Beerman.
Yep.
And again, considering, because they're not apples with apples, he's in a Haas.
Well, he's pumped Ocon.
Yeah, so I think that is, he's a rookie. He's got an extremely experienced teammate, and he's beat him. So that on paper is like, job well done, sir. And other surprises, though, would be Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone probably anticipated Williams to have the season they had.
I agree with all of that. Nothing really to add. I'm on the same page with all that. The team's championship, that's where the Williams team did such a good job. They finished up 5th ahead of Racing Bulls and Aston Martin. And I think that's pretty impressive. And they didn't have the best start to the season.
No.
So I think, I reckon that's pretty impressive. Yeah, I think 8th and 9th from those two puts them in good stead for next year. And I do laugh. I don't know that, obviously it's Ferrari and it's nice to have the logo on your shirt, but I don't think Carlos Sainz would be too disappointed right now with how things are going there and the trajectory that Williams is on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's probably just on the optics of it from sitting on the couch it's probably a more harmonious workplace than what Ferrari is, because a lot of expectations come with, as you say, wearing that uniform.
Yeah.
Big expectations, and they're clearly not giving their drivers the tools to deliver, yet that expectation is still there on them. Where I feel like Williams is the opposite.
Yep.
It's like they're probably on their day, not a bad thing, where they can grab a podium or if they can run in the points, but it's not expected of them every race.
And I think they're open to criticism.
Yeah. Well,
I think as a team right now, they've recognised they're not where they want to be. They're heading in the right direction and they're prepared to make changes.
It's a massive rebuild phase for them, right? They've got the new owners, the new injection of cash. They've got the 2 drivers that they want in the car. So, yeah, I think it just moves so fast, motorsport, and you have to be open. Otherwise, and I think that's, which we touched on, I think that's Ferrari's problem.
Yeah.
They're a little bit too proud to actually maybe change.
100%. Yep. Takeaways from this season for me, Lando is a deserving winner. Yep. All for that. I think that Zach Brown, huge credit to him as well. For what he's built. Oscar Piastri, we have a very bright future, and I do think we have a future world champion, providing he can get in the right cars. Yeah. Max Verstappen should be studied. I don't understand how he does
an alien.
I don't think he's human. That's my takeaway from the top 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Oscar did Australia proud and proved what everyone knew.
Yep.
Those that followed motorsport before Formula One and things knew he was a star of the future, and he's proved that. So, Australian motorsport's healthy on the global stage, which is awesome. I think Max is going to be very dangerous next year. So that's going to be exciting.
Yep.
I guess well done, Lando. But yeah, cool to see the McLaren, I think, win. Although they claim to be British, it's obviously was started by Bruce McLaren, who was a Kiwi.
Yep.
I think this part of the world has a bit of a fond soft spot for McLarens because of that.
Well, even with Zach Brown, I saw something with a podcast out in New Zealand with Bruce McLaren's daughter. Wow. And she was talking about how since Zach's taken over the team, they've actually gone back to running Bruce McLaren's old logo on the cars, and they're really paying a bit more of a homage to the history of the team. So I think Zach's proud of the history of the team. I sound like I'm pumping Zach up right now, and I actually am, because this season he has had every Aussie media outlet slamming him. And I think at some point you do have to recognise when you've done something pretty fucking impressive, or at least appreciate someone that has taken something from where it was to where it is today. And it is cool to see that. That's the little clip of her discussing that and saying how Zach's actually trying to embrace our history a little bit more. They reached out to her, which is awesome. And I think to do what they did this season is impressive. I just think obviously they need to sort out the way they manage their drivers, and the challenge they've got is, unfortunately, they've probably got, in the top 5, they've got 2 of the best drivers, and how you deal with that, fuck knows. And you got Mark Webber as a manager who is not going to accept his guy being number 2. So it's not all on McLaren. I could imagine that the meetings behind closed doors has been an absolute shit show this year. So I don't know how they do it, but they've got to manage it a little bit better next year, because they could still next year throw away a driver's title again if they have the best car. Yeah, Oscar said it too, guys. It's a great problem having 2 number 1s, but it also creates its own unique problems. So we've seen that this year. And it's exactly right. So he hit the nail on the head. It gives you an opportunity to win every weekend, but it also creates other problems. Yep. So the thing is too, we might not have seen this before, because there's very rarely been a third driver in a different team being right there at their heels. So normally it's like a 1-2 battle between Lewis and Rosberg's fun to watch. It's a great point. But have we seen that this situation between McLaren might not be unique? It's just that the guy in third in the championship isn't normally an alien. He's not a super freak. Exactly. So maybe, you got to give a little bit of slack that normally there isn't a third alien in the mix. It's true. It's normally, 2 drivers up the road. Doesn't matter what they're doing. One team so far up the road doesn't matter. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's the wrap, mate. Next year we're planning on doing a lot more Formula One. Yeah. We got right into NASCAR during the season as well, which was unreal. But next year we are going to start target F1. Some exciting things around the Melbourne Grand Prix, and why not? Yeah, exactly. It keeps us on our toes. So hopefully you enjoyed that episode, guys, and we'll see you next week.